My entitled boss gives us a new policy that absolutely makes no sense, forcing us to follow a script when helping out clients instead of meeting their needs specifically. So I decided to maliciously comply, which resulted in absolute chaos as one of our $1 million clients nearly backs out of our office, resulting in my boss being put in performance review and quite literally almost losing his job. Here's what happened. So I work in customer service for a company that provides specialized software to major players in the healthcare industry. Our clients aren't your average users. They're hospitals, clinics, and medical centers where downtime can have serious consequences. I've been with the company for 5 years and I know our software inside out, so I'm often able to troubleshoot unusual problems and get things back on track without any kind of hassle. But a few months ago, a new supervisor who we will call Alex joined our team. He was fresh from a corporate management program and came in with grand ideas about efficiency and productivity. In his mind, the solution to our slow response times was simple: a script-only policy. According to him, every client interaction needed to be scripted to prevent wasting time on unnecessary advice. No more custom solutions, no additional steps, no thinking outside the box. If a client's issue wasn't in the script, we were to log it, escalate it, and have them wait for a callback. When Alex announced the new policy, I raised my hand, explaining that most clients call us precisely because they're dealing with specific time-sensitive issues. Sticking rigidly to the script would just frustrate them, and in many cases fail to solve their problems entirely. But Alex didn't budge. He said to us, "Everyone follows the script, no exceptions." And he said this smiling in that overly confident way that made it clear he thought he was reinventing the wheel. "If even our biggest clients call, you better follow the script." Well, cut to about a couple of weeks later, and one morning I pick up a call and I'm greeted by the CEO of one of our top clients, a massive healthcare network we've worked with for years. They hold a multi-million-dollar contract with us, and losing them would be catastrophic. The CEO is calling in a panic because their entire system is down. The glitch they're dealing with is blocking patient records and diagnostics, putting patient care at risk. And this isn't just a technical issue, it's affecting people's health. As soon as he described the issue, I recognized the problem. It's a known bug with a straightforward 5-minute workaround, which is something I've handled a dozen times before. But here's the thing, the fix isn't in the script. I'm immediately torn. My instincts tell me to help him, to do my job and prevent a disaster. But Alex's strict orders echo in my head. Follow the script and there's no exceptions. If I help, I risk my job. If I don't, I risk this client's contract and possibly lives. So I decide to maliciously comply by doing exactly as Alex told me to do, knowing for a fact that this would blow up in his face incredibly quick. So I go through the script, step by painful step, and the CEO is losing patience incredibly fast. As I drone through basic troubleshooting steps he clearly doesn't need, he interrupts me, asking why I'm wasting his time. So I explain the policy. I say to him that I'm only allowed to offer solutions that are in our script. If this doesn't fix it, I can escalate the case and someone will call you back within 24 hours. He then goes completely silent and then suddenly says, "Escalate it right now." So I log the issue as required, escalating it for some kind of callback. Within an hour, word spreads that Alex had been summoned to an emergency meeting with our department head. Apparently, the CEO of our client had gotten in touch with our company's leadership directly, and they were not mincing words. He demanded an explanation for the sudden drop in our service quality and straight up said he was going to take his business elsewhere. Rumor has it that he even said to us that if your idea of support is running through a script instead of fixing the problem, then we are done here. Well, by the end of the day, we all received an email titled Script Policy Update. It said to us that effective immediately, we were now encouraged to use our best judgment and to go off script as needed for high priority issues. Alex's entire efficiency plan was scrapped on the spot, and he's now under performance review. It's safe to say that he's lost any respect from our team, and I'm not sure his reputation will ever recover after that blunder. In the days that followed, the story of the client meltdown spread like wildfire through the office, growing more exaggerated with each telling. Some people claimed that the CEO was going to sue us, while others claimed that he'd hinted at buying a competitor. Regardless of the details, Alex's name became a kind of cautionary tale, a reminder of what happens when you put rigid policies above common sense. And as for me, well, I've been doing my job the way I always have, thinking on my feet, solving problems, and trusting my instincts. The difference now is that I have a little smirk every time I think about it, because after all, I was just following orders. Yeah, this is a classic case where the new manager doesn't know what they're doing, and they step in and literally ruin the entire process. Like seriously, this is so dumb. Why on earth would you be like, "Oh, you have to follow the script or you can't do anything else, sorry." And it's like, dude, you're about to lose a lot of money from this one client who clearly like bankrolls everybody's checks. And it's always the new manager's leaders that come into a company that's like well established, where they try to be like, oh yeah, we're gonna make some changes around here, and it almost never works out. Like if the company was falling apart and things were not going well, then sure, make some changes of some kind. But it's the fact that nothing was broken and this guy still felt the need to try and fix the entire office. Like that, in my opinion, is so weird and so stupid. So honestly, good for you for showing how dumb this new policy was, because Alex, in my opinion, absolutely had it coming. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to AmITheJerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. My mom doesn't respect my boundaries, and it's now affecting my mental health and my relationship, because right now I really don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, to start things out, I need to say that I have a mother who doesn't respect my boundaries, and I just don't know what to do anymore. I moved to another country with my husband 3 years ago, and I haven't lived with my parents since I was 22 years old. But this is the first time I'm really far away, maybe about an 8-hour flight. I've never been good about setting boundaries with my parents, especially my mother, and I allowed her to play the role of best friend and mother simultaneously for many years, to the point where she intrudes on my adult life, my decisions, and even my relationship. I decided to go to a therapist for various reasons, one of which was to learn how to set boundaries. My psychologist told me that my mother was mistreating the trust I had given her, and at times was using that trust to manipulate and emotionally blackmail me. When I started setting boundaries with my parents, it was hard for them and even for me. The problem is that my mother doesn't respect those boundaries, and it's getting to the point where visiting my parents causes me anxiety. It's to the point that if I'm talking to my partner, she'll stand behind the door to listen, or if I play a voice message from a friend, she immediately comes to ask about the message and who it was from. She constantly interferes in my relationship, saying things like, well, maybe your husband isn't happy with you and doesn't know how to tell you, creating insecurities in me that over time and with my therapist's help, I realize were developed because of her comments. The thing is, she is a distrustful person, and even if you tell her that a store didn't have a very specific brand of detergent that she might be looking for, she will go to the store herself to check if that detergent really wasn't available. And I'm using this detergent as an example, but you could substitute it with almost anything. Now my father is sick, and I swear the situation is already unbearable for my mental health, and for my father's health as well. She keeps questioning everything the doctors say, even when she attends the consultations. She keeps telling me what I should say to the doctors whenever I'm there visiting my father and there's an appointment. I swear that I'm only here because of my father, because if he were healthy, I'd only come for 4 days, stay in a hotel, and that would be it. Finally, I don't even want my partner to come with me because I don't want him to witness these episodes with my mother, especially since he has a diagnosed depression, and these situations could affect his well-being. Of course, my mother doesn't understand this and keeps saying, it seems like your husband doesn't like us. I just don't know what to do anymore. Has anyone ever been through this situation? What should I do? Okay, for starters, I'm so sorry you're going through this, because your mom does sound incredibly intrusive. She's going out of her way to basically question everything you ever do, while also trying to boss you around. It's like she's obsessed with this weird control that she has to have over every situation, from you to your marriage to her husband to the doctors. Like, the problem very clearly begins and ends with your mom. So seriously, I hope your dad gets better, and I hope your mom is able to back off in some kind of way, because the way she's acting would truly stress out just about anybody. I just quit my serving job with no notice, all because of the way these people have been treating me for several weeks now, and I'm honestly so glad to be away from them, because their BS was absolutely unacceptable. Here's what happened. Okay, so I have a full-time job elsewhere, but I picked up this waitressing gig at a local diner. I was only there for about a month and a half total, so I was relatively new when I quit as well. This was a nice place. It's been around for nearly a century, and has only had 3 sets of owners in its existence. But these new owners, who are a husband and wife, are running this place to the ground, and it was obvious from day one for me. The husband used to work at my current full-time job, but he got fired for hiding bad parts. He also was a little too friendly and personal with us waitresses, and I decided I was staying the heck away from that guy. I'm not bad looking, and I knew he'd like me over some of the others, and I think his wife thought that he was going to cheat on her with me, because she has been known for taking that paranoia out on waitresses prior to me. But nothing ever happened because, again, I stayed the heck away. Now, I'm not a drinker, so I already knew I was not in the boys club, so I would never get promoted to bartender ever, all because I didn't drink with my bosses or my coworkers. I just strived to be a good waitress and make as much tip money as I could, all in the hopes of eventually working my way up to bartending. Other waitresses would show up whenever they felt like it, and then would just get lost and not attend their tables. And yet when I'm 1 minute late, or if I went to the bathroom before being seated without my knowledge, suddenly that's not okay. Besides that BS above, there was no real training. disgusting. There were health code violations up the wazoo, and they can't even keep their staff, which are just 3 more red flags to add to the list. I chalked it up to the fact that, well, I haven't worked in a restaurant before, but I have worked in healthcare food service, so my standards must be way too high. I noticed people handling food without washing their hands, like they wouldn't even use gloves. And there were even waitresses making salads barehanded with fake nails on. And honestly, there was so much more besides that. Then it was the awful sections that I discovered I was deliberately being placed in, with prima donna customers who don't tip at all, or I get stuck with a table that's full of kids. Meanwhile, these other servers are getting all these 8 tops of wealthy tables and honestly really nice customers. Whereas with me, I was lucky to get 2 good tables in one night. I would also get chewed out for asking questions about the menu for people who were asking for some kind of custom order, and being somebody who doesn't take garbage from people after a certain point, I argue with the owners on occasion because they wouldn't listen to my questions, or they would automatically assume I was doing something wrong when seriously no drama was needed. I was as professional as I can be, but after the first argument, I noticed that inconsistent seating started for me, where my tables that could have given me good tips were being given to other servers higher in the pecking order. Then the other nights, I was overloaded with tables, and I was shamed in front of customers for not keeping up with bussing my own tables, when they could just hire a stupid busser, or give me time to keep up with the tables before seating 10 tables simultaneously, which I seriously don't know how many people can handle that normally, but I was barely keeping up. I offered to even come in just for bussing, but the wife shut that down and told me no. Also, the micromanagement is hardcore at this diner, and I was actually being told that I was a good waitress who was attentive to people's needs at tables, but I was clearly being set up to fail. I had just gotten a hold of the point of sale system, which was already confusing enough, and I was also chastised for not knowing where things are in the system, because again, it's confusing. I wasn't being treated fairly in my opinion, and I knew that my time there wasn't going to be long. I figured they were sneakily driving me out, but I'm normally a pretty stubborn person, so I stuck it out as long as I could. A couple weeks ago, I had to call in sick a couple of times because I was getting sick, as I do have an autoimmune disease that flares up. I was having a hard time walking. I had lumps in my throat, but I still had to work because I couldn't get into a clinic yet. The last night I worked, I was stuck cleaning the entire east dining room with no help again. I was crying from abdominal pain while also moving booths and the tables just to sweep things out, and it felt like an eternity that night because it hurt so bad. I went home almost an hour after my shift was officially done, and I told my husband what was going on. I had been overloaded with shifts without a day off, while also juggling a full-time job, and I was agonizing at the prospect of continuing to hustle when I was hurting so badly. My husband told me that he doesn't want me to go back because he doesn't want to see me miserable anymore, and I'd barely been home for the duration of my employment there, which does take a toll when you have a 10-month-old kid at home. So I had decided to do something I had never done before. I texted the owners that night saying I quit effective immediately. I didn't believe they deserved a 2 weeks notice because I was treated so horribly. I knew that place wasn't working out for me, and I didn't feel right serving tables being this sick, which is what half the people there do, and they then get customer sick because they come in sick. I have never not given 2 weeks, but I'm sure I'm coming across as thin-skinned or as some kind of wimp. I don't know, but I knew I wasn't going back to that place. I went to the doctor the next day, and I found out I tested positive for mono, and the abdominal pain was from my liver and spleen swelling, and I'm still out sick right now, and it's been a week since I quit. But even still, I don't regret leaving. They already have hired 3 new waitresses because their turnover is so bad. They can definitely live without me because someone else can now deal with their BS. I am not putting up with it any longer because you know what? I could be successful somewhere else, especially if I'm dealing with much better management. Yes, this is the kind of story that I love to see. The original poster absolutely had every right to step away and be like, no, you're not getting a 2 weeks notice. From the micromanagement to the way these people treated you on a daily basis, these people deserve to be scrambling just a little bit to find a new whipping boy, which is exactly what you were in this story. You were just the scapegoat for all of their problems because they know they suck and they know they have nothing going for them, and yet here they are trying to like throw you under the bus. It's like, what is going on right now? This is so unfair. It's also crazy to me that the wife is trying to like imply that you're going to be the reason that her husband leaves her, but if he really is that kind of like piece of garbage, then it's not going to be because of you. You didn't do anything in this situation. That guy clearly has like no backbone. So honestly, I'm so glad you got out of that place because you do not deserve to be treated that way. Because any job that's going to micromanage you and try to put this type of pressure on you, in my opinion, is not a place that's worth working at in the slightest. My toxic managers never pay me or my coworkers on time, resulting in all of us losing our morale, as well as basically giving up on our job entirely. And after careful consideration, frustration, I'm now at the point where I need to find a new job because this kind of behavior is absolutely unacceptable. Here's what happened. Okay, so every single fellow cashier at our shop front has been shockingly short and disrespectful to the customers that roam through the building. And this is evident from the plethora of bad reviews surrounding these employees' interactions. Unsurprisingly, I have gone from providing some level of customer service to slowly but surely reaching the state of mind as my fellow employees and no longer really smiling or going to any lengths to do more than the bare minimum. And so it got me wondering to why exactly these employees and myself are not motivated at all to provide any positive level of customer service. Some of the things I would say are the culprit is our boss's incessant ability to pay us late. It's gotten to the point now where we're all in separate group chats and we start to bet on whether he'll pay us on time or not. Our boss talks disrespectfully to us when we do anything to inconvenience him, even if it's not necessarily anything wrong. The overall process of sitting around a building full of loud people with screaming kids in a tourist-heavy place bothers most of the employees. The steps from taking a ravenous line of people's orders as the only cashier with only one cook is honestly just so exhausting, as you have to juggle assisting customers asking for more stuff after receiving their food already, inputting and sending out delivery orders, preparing trays of food from the kitchen and bringing them out, collecting reusable dishware, and leaving to the supply room mid-rush to grab more stuff, all results in an overstimulated work environment with never enough time to get anything done in a timely manner. From my experience, the whole style of the food hall's layout just creates way too much traffic flowing through it. And even if they aren't ordering from you, it's causing the cashier to always be on edge because you have no idea if that person staring at your menu for 10 minutes is actually going to order. There hasn't been one cashier that hasn't been incredibly short and rude to the customers, and I used to think they just hated the job, but realized after working here for a while that it's all just designed to influence the cashier to not be inclined to provide any reasonable amount of customer service. You're just flipping an iPad around non-stop and never getting a chance to connect with the customer. All the cashiers are leaving left and right, and even the kitchen is extremely toxic here, with a couple of cooks who hog 80% of the hours, and the remaining 20% are taken by a kid that is constantly disrespected by the main cooks because they think that they have some kind of seniority above him and don't have to do basic jobs like prepping the kitchen for his shift. So then he's scrambling as he comes in to get ready. In fact, he is no longer here for that reason. It's crazy to me that our boss is well aware of the reviews and his actions towards us, but literally just doesn't care and keeps paying us late. He's always micromanaging us, and he's interacting in a highly toxic manner when things don't go his way. Our place is special in the sense that we have the most negative reviews, with customers absolutely trashing the cashier's attitudes. It's almost comical in a sense. Now, it is sad that it's gotten to this point, but to be completely honest, after working the position, I've devolved to nearly the same persona, although I do fake it just enough to avoid mass reports regarding my behavior. Essentially, there's very little reason to go above and beyond to provide anything more than the absolute minimum towards customers, and even more reason to allow our frustrations to be seen due to the owner's own neglect towards our well-being. So honestly, I think now it's time to find another job. Yeah, that sounds like an awful place to work because I definitely know where you're coming from. I've worked jobs in the past where I've had managers who just don't care. They're super toxic, they micromanage you, and then they don't even pay you on time. And that last one, the not paying you on time part, that is something I will never accept, and it's something that you should never accept ever again either. Because they need to pay you on time. That is so crucial for ever retaining employees. Why on earth would I put in all this work for a job that I'm not even going to get paid for on time? Like, do they not care that people have bills to pay and people have rent? Like, seriously, there's no excuse for that. That should really be your number one priority. And the fact that these people are not doing that, in my opinion, is the absolute true mark of bad management. So yeah, I don't blame you for getting another job because these people suck, and you definitely should not have to work under these conditions. Am I the jerk for kicking my sister out of my house, all because she parties way too much and it's gotten to the point where it's starting to affect my daily life? Here's what happened. Okay, so I've been living with my sister, who we will call Hannah, for the last couple of months, all while she figures out her next steps after she moved out of our parents' house. Now, Hannah's always been a bit of a party girl, but since she started staying with me, it's like every other night she's out at some club or some rave. I don't mind that she likes to go out, but it's becoming a real problem. She'll come home super late, sometimes not even until the next morning, and she's really loud and bringing random people over and waking me up constantly. I've talked to her a few times, asking her to at least be more considerate, but nothing's changed. Plus, she's not really helping out with rent or the chores as much as she promised, so I feel like I'm just dealing with an absolute mess. And the only reason she's become basically addicted to going out is because she's finally 18 years old. But when I turned 18, the partying was moderate and at a mature level. But but Hannah's is just crazy. Not to mention that she blows pretty much all of her money on these events. Last week, after yet another night of her stumbling in at dawn, I told her she needs to find somewhere else to stay if she can't chill on the party scene. Well, she then got very upset, saying I'm overreacting and trying to control her life. But I'm just honestly so over it. Our parents think I should be more understanding since she's going through a phase, but I feel like I have a right to some peace in my own place. So am I the jerk for kicking my sister out? Because right now I'm still incredibly frustrated. No, you're not the jerk at all. Your sister is stumbling in at the crack of dawn after partying all night. She's going crazy with going to parties. And that's like, okay, you could do that every now and then, but for this to nearly be an everyday thing, like, no, that's not okay. That's not acceptable. And it's so funny to me that your parents are like, oh, she's just going through a phase. You need to be more understanding. What they're really saying is, please don't make her move out because she's going to come back to our house. And we don't want to put up with it, so please continue to put up with it. So no, you're not the jerk here for kicking her out or even implying that she needs to find somewhere else to live, because this is no way to live your life. And in my opinion, I think Hannah's taking it entirely too far. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist at the top of the description. And if you want some chill music to put on in the background, check out easymode.com. If you like Am I the Jerk, subscribe to Am I the Genius. Everything will be linked down below in the description.